I'm Samantha Winona. This is Winona Reads. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel. Today is going to be my April wrap-up. It is officially May 1st. This month I read 13 books. I read 4,557 pages. 8 were Kindle ebooks. I had one that I was going between a physical copy and an audiobook, so I have 1.5 audio and 3.5 physical. 10 were romance, 2 were thrillers, and 1 was literary fiction. I am gonna have my phone just because I'm using Goodreads to go through the order. I don't know what it was about this month, but it was like Elle Kennedy month. I flew through so many of her books, and I don't have the physical copies. I have them on my Kindle, so I'll post the pictures. But the first book that I read was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Oh my god. 5 stars. I cannot say more good things about this book than I already have on my Instagram. I also want to say sorry for background noise. They're cutting down trees in our neighborhood and they're like yelling back and forth, so I'm hoping that you can't hear it, but if you can, I'm sorry. But Just for the Summer was a really cute book, and I love her books because it's not just a romance. There's so much more going on, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. But this was about Justin and Emma. I couldn't think of her name. So Justin starts a thread, I think it was as a joke or a dare maybe, but he posted that he had a curse that whoever ended up or whoever he was dating, they would break up and they would meet their soulmate after. And when I first started it, I kind of rolled my eyes because I was like, oh, I've heard this trope before. Like, how is this gonna play out? And I kept going, of course, and it was so, I think, well done that by the end I really didn't even think about that part of it anymore. So Emma reads the thread and kind of responds, and they go back and forth through text. She's a traveling nurse. I don't remember what he does. He ends up needing to take care of his siblings because his mother was going to jail, and I also don't remember. I think she was like embezzling money or something. I don't remember 100%. So he had not single dad, but like single caretaker responsibilities. She never really was tied down. She had a lot of family issues, and so they connect, and she, you know, spends her, I forget what it's called, it's not a tour, it's like sort of like a residency. Like she travels every couple months, so she spends that group of time, and then she asks for an extension to stay to get to know him better, and her friend rent out this beach house, and there's just so much involved. I loved the friendship dynamic. I thought was amazing. The way that Abby wrote the dynamic of like meeting on the internet and then coming together, like all of that felt very authentic, and it really didn't seem like cringy at any point, which I think is kind of hard to do because sometimes those tropes can like just, I don't know, get like a little bit cringy. So I liked that. I liked that there were family dynamic issues on both sides, like Justin's relationship, and then Emma's relationship with her own mother comes into play. And I just thought overall it was just so well done. I thought the representation of the mental health struggles as well was very well done, and I know she put a lot of thought into that in her writing. But I think having a main character go through like therapy and say, okay, let's be mature about this, I need to take a step back, I need to work on myself, and you know, they come together at the end. Spoiler, sorry. But I love the way it wrapped up. I loved the connections, and it was just so good. It was the perfect way to start the month. I flew through it in like 24 hours. After that, I read Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy. I gave it 3.5 stars, 3.5 stars. I started off not liking it that much. I didn't like, it felt very much like New Girl beats Europe, like the UK, and that's fine, but it didn't have like an authentic start. It felt very, it just felt very cheesy in the beginning, and I just wasn't sure about it. but her name I believe was Abby for Abbey Road. And yeah, so she was a college student. She was transferring to a London school. Her dad is like a well-known rock star, and she just wants to take this time to branch out on her own and live her own life, make her own memories, not live in the shadow. So she looks at a like flat posting or ad or whatever saying we're looking for a roommate, and it turns out to be 3 guys and not 3 women. She hides it from her dad because she thinks her dad's gonna freak out. He's very overprotective, and you know, the story continues, the relationships grow, she has a love triangle. There is a little bit of maturity and growth. I liked more of the fun aspect. I liked the, you know, witty characters and the banter. I was less interested, honestly, in the romance part of it, but it was a fun read. It was a fun little adventure. I obviously love Elle Kennedy because then I continued to read a bunch of her books, but I think that one definitely fell more into like that YA, you know, immature, kind of coming into her own, coming of age a little bit, I guess. But yeah, I still enjoyed it. And then after that, I had read the Housemade 1 and 2 by Frida McFadden. They are on Kindle Unlimited, and I gave them both about 3.5 stars. They're very bingeable reads, and I'm sure everyone has read them by now, so I probably don't need to go into detail about what they're about. However, I don't know. Sometimes thrillers are hard because like while they're bingeable and you can just like sit in one setting and just read the entire thing and fly through it, like sometimes that's great, but there's just not a lot of, not consistency, but like I don't know. I liked where the story went. I thought it was interesting. I thought it kept my attention, but for some reason I wanted more at the end. So for that, I was like, I don't know, even as like a sequel, like I started the second one immediately after, and they were good, and obviously I'll continue to read her stuff, but it's not something like I would buy a copy of for my shelf. I wouldn't bring it on vacation. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. It's just one of those reads, you know? But I can definitely see why it's all over TikTok, I'll say that. After that was The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I listened to this one on, I think, my library app. I gave that one 3 stars. I wasn't really into it, I have to say. I feel like maybe I'm just not a Sarah Adams stan fan. Is that a thing? Stan fan? I like her writing to an extent, but I like her writing style. I don't like her stories that much, or her plot. There's definitely a lot that is left out that I want more. So it started off really good in the beginning. They are people who dated in college, I want to say, high school or college, and they separate because they want different things, but she doesn't really communicate that. So he is obviously mad that he invested his time into the relationship and she just ends it pretty fast. And years down the line they meet up. He is a pro athlete and she is, I want to say, an advertiser or someone to like help his image, like a PR maybe, and they have to work together. He decides that he is going to make her job miserable, and over time, you know, the heat on everything that had happened kind of starts to simmer down a little bit, and they have real honest conversations and communication, which is what I liked. But it just, I don't know, it was very lacking, and it wasn't like something that I wanted to like pick up and finish. I just wanted to finish it to not DNF it, and for that I didn't rate it that high. After that I picked up, if you can't see, all of the off-campus series, because Elle Kennedy is all over Kindle Unlimited. So I started with The Deal, I read The Score, The Mistake, The Goal, and The Legacy, all back to back, and all within like, I think I finished each book within like 48 hours of starting them. It was addicting. I loved it. I love the series. I want to get the other series. I think it's Briar University. So this is a hockey romance series. Some are a little bit more spicy than others. Some are a little more into real life issues, real life relationship dynamics, like things that actually happen and not just like a love bubble. But it is also very much a, you know, sports and school oriented, except for the last one, well, the second to last one. But they are just a group of friends that play hockey together, and they kind of all are interwoven. Like this friend dates this one, and this one houses with this one or is a roomie, and that one dates this one, and so they're all kind of connected. And yeah, I love her writing. I thought this one was way better than the YA, and not even for the spice aspect of it. I really just thought, I'm not going to say all the stories because some of them, The Deal and the Score and The Mistake, I rated all of those 4s. Those were my favorite. And then The Goal and the Legacy, I rated 3.5. I liked the ending because I thought it was interesting. The Legacy was like wrap up of all of their lives and like where they ended up or where they were going to end up, and it had a little bit of each character, so that was fun. There were times, this was one of the things that I thought throughout it, was there were times where I was reading and I'm like, guys don't talk like this. Like, guys don't, just because they're roommates doesn't mean that they like open up with their feelings. I don't know, some of it just felt very unrealistic in the sense of like these guys opening up with their guy friends in certain ways, and it, at those times you could tell it was a woman author writing the male perspective. However, put that aside, everything else I think was pretty good. So after that, I picked up Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is book 1 in the Rose Hill series, and I loved it. It was so good. I think I gave it 4 stars. This was a hot, sort of grumpy, billionaire, single dad, small town romance. They met back in, I want to say, high school. Ford is her brother's friend, and Rosie is, she moves into a city and then comes back home, and they reconnect. She ends up working for him. Come to find out, he loved her then, he still loves her, you know, has again that real life issues aspect. He finds out that he has a daughter quite early on, but to see that relationship build and to have like honest communication and open dialogue with, you know, obviously his potential girlfriend, but like his daughter, and saying, you know, I don't want to mess this dynamic up, I'm doing the best I can, like just that real connection I thought was so good, and I am so interested to read more of her books. I flew through this, I think, in like a day and a half. After that, oh, I don't know where I put it, but after that was Ghost by Dolly Alderton. I gave that 4 stars. That was my second time reading it, so I did try to start it in January, I want to say, and I just didn't love it. I couldn't push past the mom in the book, and if you know how it starts off, I'm hoping that I'm not the only one. I was not a fan, and I could not get my head around the stuff that she was saying, and I just was not in the mood for it, so I did not push through. I put it back down. So it came on my Libby app for audiobook, and I was like, you know what, I'll pick it up again. And as I was listening to it, I was able to like kind of not avoid those parts that I didn't like, but like I just listened and took it for a minute and then listened to the other dynamics that played after, and I was able to push through the parts that I didn't like. And as the story progressed, it was worth pushing through, I have to say. So this is a story about Nina, who is out in the dating scene, and she, you know, obviously has other issues. She has issues at home. Her dad is sick, so there is like a physical illness issue that is brought to light, and the sort of dynamic between caretaker and the parents' relationship is touched on a little bit. There's an age gap in her parents, And the thing that bothered me was in the beginning, her mom was very flighty. She wanted to change her name at however many years old, like let's just say 40 or 50. She just wanted to change her name while her dad was having memory problems. And her mom just seemed so self-absorbed and just not even considering like he might not even remember her name if she changes it now. Like the entire beginning part of the mom part bothered me. But going further and realizing how hard of a stance being a caretaker could be, I do understand a little bit of her mentality a little bit more. Not the changing name part, but everything else I did. I did like the transition. What is happening to my voice right now? I'm sorry. I did like the transition between Nita meeting Miles, I think no, oh my gosh, I'm getting the stories confused. Nita meeting Max and then having like this whirlwind almost, and then for him to just ghost, I thought was very like of this generation. So it was definitely interesting to read and see how like she's trying to wrap her head around this. Like, he just told me he loved me and all of this stuff, and now he just is nowhere to be found. And you don't want to be that crazy woman that goes around looking for him or texting or calling all the time. And I just thought that part was so well done. And I also thought that when he comes back into the picture and she, you know, has that initial "I'm pissed at you, what the fuck happened," and then takes him back the same night, I thought that was also a story of our generation, because the generation definitely has a lot of like ghosting issues happening. Like, it's very prevalent, but like push it a little bit further than that. There is the idea of, you know, not being alone. Like, she was so mad at him for completely just canceling her out and acting like she did not exist, and having her try to deal with the repercussions mentally and emotionally. But then for him to come back in the picture and to not feel that loneliness and just bring him right back immediately, I feel like so many people probably do. And so I just thought the relationship aspect was so well done. The family dynamic that like is also involved in her life, I think, was needed to push the story a little bit further and make it not just about being ghosted. But I think that was also the more frustrating part, was reading her parents' like dynamic and seeing the difference not only between like their romance and relationship and then hers, but then like just seeing the way her parents play out. Like, I don't know, it was good. I am glad I pushed past it, but it was still frustrating at parts, and I'm hoping that was on purpose. After that, my last one that I finished last night, Funny Story by Emily Henry. And I have to say, I might be a minority, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. I was really, really, really looking forward to this one, and I rated it 3.5 stars, which still is not awful. It just wasn't what I had wanted, and I am kind of bummed. So this was Miles. Miles and Daphne are in relationships with other people. Peter is Daphne's soon-to-be husband, and Miles is with Petra. Petra and Peter are best friends growing up. Their families are connected, and close to the wedding, Peter decides that he wants to be with Petra instead and cancels everything, leaves Daphne in the dust. She has nowhere to go but to move in with Miles, who is now in need of a roommate. So I thought the originality was there. I think the start to the book was interesting. The plot was interesting. Daphne is almost insufferable. I'm gonna just say that. I liked her, the things that made her her, like her, you know, being in a close relationship with her mom, and finally, I mean, she's 35 years old and she finally just stands up to her parents, and her father, and says, you know, I don't like the way that you treat me. I don't just know that you love me. And, you know, I liked the family dynamics and what made her who she is. but I did not like her character. It was repetitive, it was redundant, it was self-depreciating, like over and over. Like, I'm a loser, I'm not cool, I'm boring, I'm this, I'm that, but it was all negative. Like, there was never one thing that she could just take a compliment and be like, oh, this person actually wants to hang out with me, or oh, I'm making a friend, awesome, let's not talk myself down. Like, at 35 years old, I'm like, why isn't this figured out a little bit by now? Like, just a little bit. And I think that is really what, like, was turning me off, like, for the first maybe 200 pages. And then from 200 to 300 pages, it got interesting. By the end of the 300 pages, there was a bit of drama going on, and I liked the way that the drama resolved. So overall, that is what I think carried the book for me. That, and obviously the flirtation with Miles, and like, should we, shouldn't we, like, we started this relationship off because of a shitty situation, but then like how many times I kept going back and forth was also super frustrating. Like, yeah, something bad happened to you, but it's been a couple of months and your roommates, just hook up, like, just do it. Not like, I don't know. Daphne was tough, man. I don't know. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm interested to see what other people are going to be reviewing, because I know this was such a highly anticipated release. So I am definitely interested to see other reviews. I just wish I liked it a little bit more. However, Just for the Summer was exactly what I needed, and I am so glad that I read that book, and I wish she would just come out with like a couple more a year, because that was the best. So at least one of the new releases really hit hard this month. But those are my 13 books of April. Let me know in the comments what you've read, what you are currently reading, and I will see you soon. Happy reading!